Hey, 8th grade. So today we're going to continue talking about this idea of speed versus time graphs. And our question is, what story can a graph tell me about an object's motion? So motion graphs in general can show an object's speed or velocity over time. They can also tell you the distance as well when we talked about distance versus time graphs. So when you see something that is accelerating or moving forward, depending on if you're looking at a speed, which would be acceleration, or a distance, which is moving forward, you'll notice that the line has a positive slope. When you see a negative acceleration or moving backward, once again, the negative acceleration being for speed and the moving backward for distance, there's a negative slope. And when you see a constant speed or no movement, you'll notice that there's no slope. When you talk about rate, we're talking about velocity or speed over time, or in the case of a distance versus time, it's distance over time, which tells us the speed. The steeper the line, the faster the change in the rate or the rate of change. The higher the rate of change, which we know is the same as slope because we've talked about this in math class before. So if the line's steeper or it looks like it'd be harder to climb, if it was a mountain, then that would be a higher rate of change. If it looks like it'd be an easy walk up a hill, then it would be a lower rate of change. So what have we seen so far? We've looked at two different graphs. Distance versus time. So this one tells you at what time, how far they are from the beginning. And then at this point, we'll notice that the person or object must have been stopped because the distance gets no further while time continues to move. So this would be an example of moving forward and then again standing still. When we looked at speed in place of distance, you have this speed going up your y-axis, the time going across the x, and this tells you how fast you're going based on the amount of time. And you'll notice that there's units here. Speed is meters per second, and time is just seconds. So when you do these two and you're trying to calculate the distance, you would multiply these times each other to calculate the distance. So for instance, at 1 second, we went 10 meters, or we're going 10 meters per second. You multiply those times each other, and that's how far you went, 10 meters, because the seconds would cancel each other out. If you went to 2 seconds and went up, you'll notice that at 2 seconds, we're now at a rate of 20 meters per second. So what this is telling you is that at this point, we've now gone 40 meters. When you look at the speed time graph, constant speed is a horizontal line, whereas in a distance graph, it means that it's not moving at all. But in a speed graph, it means that it's just staying at the same pace. Also in a speed versus time graph, if you see one straight line like this where the slope is continuous the entire way and does not change, this is what we call constant acceleration. And this would be moving, the rate at which you are moving stays the same the entire time. So you're continuing as time goes on to increase at the same rate. This is another speed versus time graph that kind of shows all of the things that we had talked about. We have this steady acceleration from A to B, and then this horizontal, which is our steady speed. Our acceleration, once again, up here. And you'll notice that the slope between this is a little bit different than this from C to D. A to B and C to D have different slopes because if you go up 2 over 2 to get from C to D, but if you wanted to go up 2, you'd only be going over 1 and about a half over here. And then you'll notice that these decreased lines are steady deceleration, where in a distance graph, that would actually be moving back to the point from which you started. So this is now a deceleration or a negative acceleration. You're going to see it both ways. So negative acceleration is the same as deceleration. Go ahead and move on to your packet for today. Once you've completed your packet, you need to move on to your exit ticket online as well as Quizlet.